This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. This was shared with me by a subscriber over on the website who goes by the name of Truth Seeker, who also has his own YouTube channel and covered this topic. And again, these are the topics that I always cover, and I have to cover something like this when I see it so you can see how out in the open all this stuff is. Now, 99.9% of the population have probably never heard of Bambi Thug. But I'm going to cover Bambi Thug because this was on Eurovision 2024, so this just aired. And that's one of those shows, it's kind of like an American Idol type of show with countries where they come on and they perform. So a lot of people see it, so that means that it needs to be covered. And again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see this performance and say that it's satanic. Of course, they're actually playing into it because the band is so thrilled that quote-unquote conservatives are predictably raging over Ireland's satanic Eurovision Song Contest entry. I don't know really who's raging over. In fact, I'm just overly embarrassed by seeing this repetitive pattern of witchcraft being used and then again hearing that it's art, because that's what they tell us. So I'm going to show you some of the images here and some of the signs and symbols that were used, because again, it's a repetition and a pattern that we see that they use, and they try to get away with this stuff and dismiss it as art. So I'll spare you actual video footage of the event because they are spellcasting and putting on a performance. And I'll also spare the men out there who by watching that performance might get permanent erectile dysfunction. So we'll just move into the performance, but I do need to warn you, there is a chance just by looking at some of these ghouls that you may leave here with an STD. So just be forewarned, okay? So let's take a look at Bambi Thug and the performance that was put on. So Bambi Thug openly crowned the witch we see on the screen, right? Crown the witch. So they're admitting to being witches, so that's a start. At least they're admitting that they're witches, unlike the satanic organizations like the Satanic Temple, who call themselves the Satanic Temple, but then don't admit that they're Satanists. So crown the witch. And of course, we've seen photographs. This is, everybody sees this stuff and like, it's just art, right? This ghoul has the pentagram around its neck. It's got the pentagram even tattooed right on the arm. You can see sigils, the Ankh, on the finger, along with other satanic sigils that are used in witchcraft. So these are real witches. This isn't an act. They're real witches among us. So it starts, of course, and everyone sees this, and they're like, oh, she's just, it's like The Craft, right? We're supposed to believe it's make-believe. So the witch is inside of its ritual circle, its protection circle, which I've covered a lot of times. If you notice, and you're new to this, the Grammys, all these performances are always inside of a circle. The same with witches. They perform their spells inside of a protection circle. So it's inside the circle, lighting the candles. We're supposed to believe it's not real, remember. And of course, there's a pentagram in there, right? We're supposed to believe this is all fun and games, even though we see witchcraft associated with almost everything in pop culture. Every single Disney movie is associated with witchcraft. Every single movie, for the most part, has the witch portrayed as a victim and a good guy. This is all being deceptively done by the Satanists who control our government. So what's interesting to note as we're pulling away and we see this giant pentagram on the ground is that apparently Barbie Thug here, or Bambi Thug, whatever this band wants to be called, also is a failed optometrist, because Bambi even drew an eyeball right in the middle of the pentagram. So, I guess if it doesn't work out with Eurovision and they don't get some type of contract or whatever the award is, if they don't get a couple gallons of children's blood or whatever they're trying to win here, if they don't get a bucket of feces from a pig or something that they want to have for dinner, I guess the follow-up act would be maybe optometry school. So hopefully she gets enough money coming in last place to actually afford optometry school, because we're supposed to believe that that eyeball on the floor, that it's just a conspiracy, that these people are obsessed with eyeballs, has nothing to do with the occult or Luciferian worship, even though it's on the back of our dollar bill at the top of a pyramid. Because remember, folks, they've trained us and tried to train us to be completely stupid and brain dead to their signs and symbols. But signs and symbols rule the world, not rules and laws. And their symbols are everywhere. And the only way they can deflect when you point out the repetition of their symbols and patterns is by silencing you and removing you from the internet, or removing you from anywhere you might be preaching this stuff to people and showing them the truth, because their brains start to wake up. They start saying, hey, why are all these celebrities putting their hand over their eyes, right? The classic montage that I've shown before, the collage of all the celebrities from Bono, all these people have nothing to do with each other, to Jeff Bezos, right? What is connected to them? Oh, right, Luciferian worship. And what do they all have? Wealth and power, right? And what are they all? Quote unquote Democrats, right? Even though I don't believe in Democrats or Republicans because both parties are compromised, Democrats are pushing for global communism, which if you don't understand and you hear the word communism, you're like, I don't know what that means. That sounds boring. It sounds like something from the 50s. Understand this. Satan's government is communist. Okay, it is global imprisonment. And these people pushing it will not be prisoners. You and me will be. They will be living like kings and queens and whatever else on earth. And of course, we know when that time comes up, they'll be living like the demons they are in hell after the fact. So as this goes along, you can see right on the forehead of this ghoul what is called a triskel. It is another occult symbol. Now, I know that a lot of people who follow my channel are familiar with those spirals, and I'll get into that in a second. But the symbol highlights the quest for a deeper meaning of life pertaining to the number 3. The symbol represents the action of cycles of 3. Number variations, life, death, and rebirth. Okay? We know their obsession with the number 3. Remember, I talked about 3 o'clock in the morning, why you always hear songs about 3 o'clock in the morning from Eminem to Matchbox 20 to all these bands. They always reference 3 o'clock. If you ever see some of these celebrities tweet out about that time, they're up at 3, they can't sleep, they have insomnia. 3 o'clock is the ritual hour. It's believed that Christ was crucified at 3 p.m. That's what it's believed. They use 3 a.m. because remember, everything they do is inverted. It's an inversion. And when they do their blood sacrifices, it's at 3 a.m. Now, the number 3 has a lot of, especially in a row, repetitively, has a lot of symbolism to them as well, right? 33, 1/3 of the fallen angels that the Bible references. The fallen angels, 1/3 is 33. 333 is obviously half of 666, and 33 is believed to be the number, or the age, I should say, that Jesus Christ was murdered. So as we continue on, you'll see the spiral symbols on this thing's chest. So the spirals, again, this is a witchcraft symbol. And yes, like most symbols used in the occult, it does have meaning as far as a rebirth, right? But it also has meaning to as above, so below. And we see the spiral. It is one of the most common symbols that nobody picks up on. And if you've paid attention to a lot of my videos over the years, or you're somebody who maybe stumbled upon my channel, you should know about the spiral in regards to that pizza place, right? That spiral has significance to them. You see the spiral because the spiral represents a little certain somebody, right? A certain youngster, okay? And that certain youngster is very important to the occult because that's who's used in the rituals. So they love to put the spiral all over children's toys, if you haven't noticed. Okay, we see the spiral with the hypnotism symbol, but what people don't realize is if you go, say, I don't know if any of you have kids. If you have kids, go look at some of their toys. You're going to find the spiral on the feet, on the arms of some of the dolls, no matter who's manufactured it. I'm not saying every single toy, but I guarantee you if you have a bunch of toys in your home, say you have 5 toys, you're going to find a spiral on it. They put this on children's toys specifically because who is targeting these kids? Well, the witches and the warlocks are, the witches and the Satanists, whatever you want to call these demons, okay? So they strategically put it on children's toys. And again, as above, so below. So as the video goes on, some other demon covered in black goo just decides to come out. And I love this whole thing, how they act and they dance. Are we supposed to be afraid of these people? You know, they dress up in black, they tattoo them. Am I supposed to be scared walking down the street if I see a grown man who lives in his parents' basement, who's got tattoos all over him and is wearing, a pentagram shirt? Am I supposed to run and go hide? Because that's not how most of us feel. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's embarrassing. And Satanists are an embarrassment not only to society, they're an embarrassment to God. So when I see a Satanist, I'm not very fearful. But I guess when they perform like this, people out there are like, whoa, that's cool and neat. Yeah, it's cool and neat. It looks like the guy took a black Sharpie and rubbed it all over his head. Now, of course, we know what it represents, all this significance of the color black being dipped all over his body is referencing the black goo. And of course, the black goo represents the transformation, transforming humans, mixing of iron and clay, transhumanism. And of course, that's currently ongoing as we speak right now, the beginning of the transformation. And most of you know what I'm referencing. And of course, you're not allowed to mention that here on YouTube. So as it goes on, he bites her hand. Ooh, I'm shaking in my boots. Like I said earlier, the only thing I might be afraid of if I see these two walk in the streets is that an STD jumps off their bodies and goes into my face. Okay, that's probably about it. But you can even see they have the black contacts in, of course, representing demonic possession. I thought this was interesting too. During the performance inside of the magic circle where we saw the pentagram earlier. Look what they're doing inside of there. Look at all the arms on the bottom. Very representative of what? CERN, right? Remember the CERN commercial? Where CERN just, they tell us, hey, we have this Hadron Collider. Anyone out there that thinks that this is weird is a conspiracy theorist. Then they give you a commercial inside of a giant circle as well. And then inside that circle, what do we see? Well, we see a bunch of arms and things because those are the demons they're summoning while they're doing the rituals and trying to bring over. Right? So, no coincidence there that all these arms, because it's representing what's on the other side, the lifting of the veil. That's what these demons are trying to do at CERN, in our government. So the video continues on, and we see other sigils that are put right in front of our face. This is another satanic sigil that, most people don't really talk about, but we know all the stars that are used in the occult. This is the dodigram, which is a 12-pointed star. We see it a lot with, Hindu Shivaism, okay, deities, and, in yoga, etc., which all goes back to Aleister Crowley. And again, summoning of spirits, right? That's what these points of these stars are used for in these rituals that are done. That's why they always have these symbols and these logos that have stars, and then they're like, oh, it's just a 5-pointed star. It's a Dallas Cowboys. It's a pentagram, okay? So it continues on, and we see this ghoul ghouling on stage, making everybody sick. Most people who didn't pass their lunch already by this point in the performance have. And then we see them perform in front of this big moon, right? Because, of course, we always see moons used in satanic rituals because this is what they do. With these super blood moons, etc., they perform satanic rituals. And does it surprise anybody that the demon decides to strip itself, and what's it wearing? Well, it's wearing that prideful flag. It's wearing that LGBTQ plus flag right on it, right? So is there a correlation between the two? Well, of course there is. Of course there is, right? Because remember, the Baphomet is really the world's first transgender. The Baphomet has breasts and a penis, a small penis, but breasts and a penis. That's the Baphomet. That's what they worship, right? It's gender neutral, okay? And that's the reason that this whole thing is going on, okay, where we constantly see them telling us that boys should play basketball with girls and everybody should castrate themselves. This is all occult stuff that they're normalizing right before our eyes, and then telling us stuff like we're all crazy for thinking that this is satanic. And it's amazing how their brainwashing has worked so well on so many people, but it does, and it has, right? We see people out there that dismiss this stuff as art, when it's very, very clear if you just look, right? Here's a performance, here's this thing called Eurovision. Right, it's a big chance to go and say, I guarantee this thing will get a contract out of it because it's already clearly an Eastern Star witch doing a performance with another Mason. And even if they're not in it and they're just playing dress up, and even if that was the case, which it's not, they'll probably be offered a contract, but then they'll eventually have to make a real human sacrifice. So they'll have to put their pig pants on, but I'm sure they already did to get on TV. And of course, we probably know just by themselves, putting things on the screen like Crown the Witch, having pentagrams tattooed on their bodies. Obviously, it's not an act when you're having that tattooed on yourself. And the pictures of her with the tattoo, or him with the tattoo on itself, are all pictures before the performance. So clearly this is a witch telling you it's a crowned witch. Of course, more mockery with the crown. These people are just sick and they're relentless, but they're protected under all forms of speech where the people like us are not. And we had the eyeball as well. Do you think that was a coincidence in there? Right? We always talk about the eyeball. We talk about the, I just covered, Janelle Monáe wearing a dress filled with eyeballs. If you didn't see that video, go check it out. I don't know if everybody got the memo on that video, but pretty funny video. If you go look through it, how obvious this stuff is, right? We're supposed to believe they all love eyes. Can they explain what the eyeball means on the ground? No, they can. And if they do, they just make something up. And all the suckers out there just go, yeah, that's what it means. It means that she loves eyes. And you're crazy for thinking otherwise. Oh, okay. And every celebrity loves holding a hand up over their eye and tattooing eyes on themselves and wearing dresses with eyes, and Lady Gaga. And this is pretty much a Lady Gaga wannabe. And Katy Perry, everybody. Yep. They all do. It's just one big coinky dink, right? I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible, right? So you also saw, again, that mark on the forehead, which also could represent the mark of the beast in a sense, but that is the Triskel. For anyone out there, you do a separate video on that and have it in my archive videos. The spirals, again, that we see over and over again, the guy covered in the black goo, the arms from CERN, if that wasn't enough to crack you up. I mean, it's literally right in front of us day in and day out, and then they just silence us and call us nuts for calling it out. And at some point, we're going to have to do more than just call it out because, they're coming for everybody. Okay. And when I say come, they're like, oh, yeah, we're coming for your kids. They like to crack jokes about, oh, yeah, we're coming for your kids. These people are crazy thinking we're coming for them. They're coming for our rights. They're coming for our right to free speech. They're coming for our right to call them out. And they're silencing people from the truth because they know how easy it is to see the truth once you allow yourself to wake up. So that's why people continue to get silenced from exposing these demons for what they truly are. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.